Hello everybody and welcome back to Legacy Cast, episode 7 for the starting guide to bowling. Right here at the Legacy Cast we give you an intro guide into the different things of bowling. And yes, as you can read by the title of this episode, is we're going to be getting into the mental game. Now, while working on your form and working on being consistent, very important. The mental game is something you really want to get done early. It's what I'm struggling with right now, and it's the thing holding me back from my goal, which is to become a professional. My form is a point very consistent, and I'm very okay with it. My form wise I'm good, but mental wise, in the understanding of the game, making the right decisions, I'm very struggling. And so I thought we could experience this together. Um, Here on the Legacy Cast Single to Bowling. This might be a little bit of a shorter episode. It might be a longer episode. I don't know. But before we begin, as always, we would like everyone here to know that here at the Legacy Cast, we are all a bunch of idiots. These takes are our personal opinions. But just because they're personal opinions doesn't mean we are exempt from scrutiny. You have every right to scrutinize us, and if you have any issues or want to bring something up, please email me at 23comcast.net or bring up issues on the Fastfire Guy 1234 YouTube channel, where this episode and our gaming content is put up right now. Thank you everyone for listening, and let's get into the video. But further disclaimer, this podcast will include, but is not limited to, swearing, sexually explicit content, hot and cold takes, and even more swearing. Okay, so the mental game bowling, as I said, it is just as important, if not more important, especially as you get into the higher levels, as the physical game. And I am struggling with it horrifically right now. I guess I should get into what I'm struggling with, and then we can get into overall how the mental game is important. So personally, what I'm struggling with is more just, I've always had a confidence issue, I should say. And because of this confidence issue, I don't trust my decisions. I don't trust my handling of the bowling ball. I don't trust that I'm making the right ball decisions, and I always think it's me being the issue rather than the lanes itself presenting me a problem. Now tonight, I actually had last night I had a tournament. Is when this is going up, and I did awful. Form wise, I was okay, but the lanes were playing so tough, my mental game kind of fell apart, and I didn't make the right ball choice decisions. I had instincts, I know what to go to, but I was just like, no. I fell back onto myself, and I'm like, no, it's me, it's not the ball reaction, even though I was having good ball reaction with some balls, bad reaction with certain balls, and I went with the bad balls because I'm like, no, it's right, it's just being the issue. Yeah, I know I need to make the right decisions. It's just a lack of confidence. But hopefully I can work on that. And hopefully, connecting me more with you, because we all get frustrated, Bowling is probably one of the most mental, especially competitive bowling, because a lot of the times you know what you need to do, but you just can't seem to get the right form or right order to do it. And a lot of that has to do with your mental game, which can be broken down into the actual mental game, like how you talk to yourself, how your adaptability, and the other parts is understanding the game, understanding when to switch, when different lane patterns, all of that stuff. And it's a complicated game. There's a lot going into it. So I guess we can get into a little bit of part of this is going to be more of the mental game and getting into some of the technical things, because knowledge is power in the sport, very much so. So, in getting into the mental aspect of things, one of the major things is controlling your thoughts. Bowling, you can. It's like the issue I have. You can understand what you need to do, and you can understand what how your form is. You can understand all of these other things, but improving your skill level can sometimes be long and sometimes be frustrating. And so, you have to get into the state of modifying your attitude and controlling your thoughts to just be like, no, 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 no. We're going to keep going. I'm going to press on. I know what I need to do. I'm going to do it. For example, we were bowling on. Sorry if I'm pulling in too many of my own examples, but I think it's going to be a good parallel. We got onto a pattern tonight. It was 40 feet Kegel Sphinx. My center of the gutter doesn't hook very much. And so, or the reaction that you typically get at my house is very, very over under. You send it out, not gonna hook. You send it in. You pull out the ball a little bit, shoots through the face. So I struggled all night, and it's still fresh in my head. And I had a thought, well, why don't I go to this ball, play a little bit straighter on the lane, because that's what the lane is, telling you to do. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna just keep throwing it left, keep fighting it, because it's obviously me. The ball wouldn't do this, and I really, really regret that, because I guarantee you I would have scored a hell of a lot better if I would have stayed with that strategy. Hit a little bit more up the back, go to a cleaner ball, which would have been my House of Link, and just stay in a little bit of a straighter area. I understood what I needed to do, but I did not have the attitude or thought process and trust in my own ability to act on it. Maybe Thanos was right. Maybe we just don't have the will to act. Sorry, my cough is... Temperature changes. And that's one of the things... Now, this is one of the things I'm better at, which is overcoming failure. You will fail in both. Learning new skills either when changing your form, or changing your hand position, you're learning to change your hand positions, or practicing, getting in front of the ball return or going around the ball return if you're getting really, really far left. It is frustrating. You are going to fail. And the keys are dedication and practice. It can, I'm gonna bring up my own example. Don't feel bad if you can't hook the ball right out of the gate. I went from one-handed to two-handed, but when I was one-handed, and I was actually decent one-handed, I went to two-handed because it was more of a comfort thing with the way I hold the ball. But getting away from that, it took me about 6 months when I first started bowling to learn how to hook the ball. 6 full months having a hook ball. I had the Rhino. 6 full months with a Rhino, trying to learn how to hook it, and it was the most frustrating thing in the world. But for those 6 months, I kept coming in about every day, and I kept practicing over and over and over again. When I first went, and then it's been about maybe a year, 2 years now, and I switched to two-handed, and it was a very, very tough change. I probably didn't shoot. I was a 180, 170 average house shot bowler. Well, or 170, 180. And getting to the point of being a 170, 180 average bowler, one-handed. And I switched to two-handed, and I couldn't shoot over 100. And the ball just kept overhooking. I couldn't generate speed. And it was frustrating, and I wanted to quit. But you just gotta keep going. Gotta keep pushing. It's hard, but it's a worthwhile thing, and if you persevere, and just keep trying over and over and over again, you will get those better scores. You will get those higher averages. It just takes time. leads us into persistence, which persistence and the ability to handle failure basically go hand in hand. And you also have to look at the positives. In bowling, the most important skill is the ability to fail and to keep going forward. Never give up. Just, you fail, you look at the positives, meaning, and you learn from your mistakes. You're like, okay, taking video of yourself is a big thing I recommend. So take video of yourself while you're bowling. Let's say maybe you fail. Then you look back on that footage, and then you just press on, and you find out what you did wrong or what you're doing differently than the pros, and then you ask for advice or coaching, and then you just keep going forward. You keep pushing forward, and positive self-talk to yourself is also a big thing. Sometimes we can get caught up on being way too negative or way too hard on ourselves, but you just gotta look at the positives, and you just gotta talk to yourself like you're a normal human being. I've seen it way too many times, even with myself and my younger brother and many other people, where they're just way too hard on themselves. And I'm hard on myself too. I'm guilty of it just as much as them. I need to stop it. You just gotta keep going forward. You gotta understand, if you're human, you're still relatively new, just keep going. Learn from your mistakes. Just keep pressing it forward. And this gets into my issue. My biggest issue. Confidence. And we're not talking about, being a douchebag and bragging. We're talking about confidence in your ability. After you've been bowling for a bit, have experience. You also have, the knowledge of your previous failures. You've learned a lot from bowling. And you just take that and you keep going. You gotta have confidence. Be like, look, I know what that's, it's, as I said before, it's the one thing I majorly lacked is faith and confidence in my own ability. And to keep pressing forward. Instead of making the right ball decision, I was like, no, it's me. No, I should have been like, no, I have confidence in myself. I need to keep pressing forward. I know what the decision is. I'm going to do it. And if it fails, okay, well then I'll go to plan B, plan C, or I'll see what that does. I'll go to take one shot at a time, adapt to what the lanes need. And that's what I didn't do, and that's why I lost money. And bye $40. So definitely build up your confidence. Don't feel bad if you don't have it right away. I still don't have it. Still don't have faith in my. I need to get over it. I need to be like, okay, lanes are forcing me to do this. Obviously what I'm doing right now is not working. Change up what you're doing now. What I should have done, I didn't do it, and I lost money for it. So take it from me before you lose money too. But it gives you experience. Now, having looked back, that's the one thing with bowling. Even if you do lose money in a tournament or in a league, you still gain the most important thing, which is knowledge. Which knowledge is just as it's knowledge of the game is probably as important as your physical form, because knowledge of what you need to do, knowledge of your previous failures, knowledge of reading the lane, okay, so knowledge of when, to switch balls, and the trust and having the confidence in that. So knowledge and confidence actually go really well in balancing each other, because you can have you have so I have the personal knowledge, but I don't have the confidence. You can have the confidence, but you might not have the knowledge, and then you kind of just look like the person that says he's going to be really good, and then he throws it through the face, and he's like, oh, there goes the 130 games. Or like, not, at a higher level, I'm saying, oh, there he goes. But you get what I'm trying to say. Not that 130 is a bad score. If you're bowling 130s, 140s just starting, hey, it went a lot better than I did. So, getting into the next thing. Preparation. Yes. So, and getting into the preparation of things. How do you prepare? Number 1, practice. 2 is research. And 3 is just communicating with your local bowling community. Other bowlers are probably one of the best researching methods you can do because they can provide, well, they're good insight sometimes. Sometimes they'll give you a load of crap. Sometimes they'll get you logical advice. It kind of have to know the person, in order to, see if what they're giving you is BS or not. But by practicing, you can get yourself ready for bowling on different conditions, as the lanes are never gonna play the same, so playing on, it'll give lane to lane, they play a little different, so getting as much practice as possible allows you to play on different lanes, understand how the lanes play differently to one another. It also allows you to practice spares, which spares are the key to 200. If you just get 2 strikes and 9 spare out, you actually will bowl a 200 even. Now, how do you practice spares? Well, I actually have an interesting game you can play. So game 1 is low ball. What you do is, for an entire game, you just try to take out the 10 pin in your first shot and the 7 pin in your second shot. Just take those 2 out. And so your score at the end of the game should try to be 20. Getting 2 pins per the 10 frames. It's a really, really, really fun game to play. You can play it with friends. It's a great way to practice your corner pins, which is where a lot of people struggle. I play it a lot just to, make sure I still get it in tune. And then you have a game called, well, I don't know actually what you call it. I call it pin by frame or frame by pin. Basically what you do is that you go, and this is a great way to practice individual single pins. So you would, so in frame 1 you would hit pin 1, frame 2 you would hit pin 2, frame 3 you would hit pin 4. Now you're like, okay, well, what do I do on the second shot? While doing this, you leave some interesting leaves. And so what you're able to do is you're able to practice different spares that are left over from hitting these specific pins, and it can teach you to be a little bit better at different spares, or have you experience spares you might not see on the regular basis but still gets you prepared for them when you read them in competition. One of the ones I've actually gotten really, really good at shooting because of practicing my single pins through the pin by frame way is the 1, 2, 4, 10 washout, which is technically, it's not a split. It's considered anything that has a 1 and 10 pin separated is called a washout. So, fun fact. And so preparation's a huge part of bowling. It's a huge part of the mental game. It's a huge part of any part of your game, and definitely something you need to practice. Next is getting that experience. Experience and confidence go very much hand in hand. Sometimes, not all. I'm actually getting a lot more experience, and it's slowly improving my confidence. But that's more of I just need to improve my confidence in general. But experience will help you boost your confidence. Experience will help you master your skills that you're trying to learn, and it will help you. Experience will also help you, battling different lane conditions, different ways to adjust, your approach, where you're standing to make your spares, and how fast you need to be throwing certain things, practicing slowing your ball down, speeding it up for the reaction you want, getting a little bit more behind the ball, getting a little bit more getting more around the ball, practicing different things, having this experience when it comes time, to use those skills. You'll know what to do. Now, You could be like me, and I really hope you aren't, where you know what to do, but you don't act on it. Oh, I really need to fix that. So, the biggest thing I can think of is mental focus. Um, it's sometimes when you're bowling in league tournaments or even just open play with friends, having the ability to keep focus and stay positive in high pressure scenarios will help you stay more consistent, stay more on top of the situation, and keep you adapting. And because sometimes when you lose that focus, you don't really necessarily act on what you see. You kind of just are off in your own world sometimes, which is good. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Just gotta play the game. Just got to play the game. On to muscle memory. And so getting to basically to the point, basically just practicing your form, practicing your hand release, practicing your steps to the line, um, practicing your arm swing. Just practicing it over and over and over and over again, basically to the point of where it almost becomes automatic. Because repetition equals a higher score. I think about I guess a great analogy for it is think about musicians playing songs, or like on stage, singing in front of a crowd. People singing in front of a crowd, they rehearse it so many times to the point of where they can just do it automatically. They don't have, they can get a little more into it. Well, you can do the bowling's the same thing. Use the same processes of the brains. It's muscle memory. Just keep practicing form over and over and over and over again. A person with a bad form can, if they're still consistent and accurate and make the right and understand how to use their form, will be better than someone with a good form who can't repeat shots or make it an automatic thing. So another thing that's really big, not overthinking it. I am super guilty of this. Sometimes I get into bowling and you get into the point of where you start splitting boards, and what that means is like you're trying too hard to make so many minute adjustments rather than focus. You're probably planning 10 balls ahead, like, okay, I use this ball, and then oh, I should use this ball when this when this transition happens. Basically, like, let's say you have your 3-ball arsenal and you're like, okay, well, then this ball doesn't do this, I can do this, instead of just being like, instead of seeing what the lane gives you, where the lane forces you to play, you make a preemptive plan, and then when that plan fails, you're kind of just like, well, don't know what to fucking do. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. I'm very guilty of it. I do it a lot in league. Shouldn't. I did it this past league, Saturday. And what happened was I went 214 the first game, and I was like, well, this ball is no longer working, and I came up with a presumptive plan. Well, when it stops working, and instead of maybe trying a different area on the lane, moving into phase transition, or going, seeing what the lane was forcing me to do, nope, I went to the ball. I was like, well, this doesn't work. I'm gonna go to this, which was a presumptive plan I made, and I went 150 the next 2 games. So that's how bad presumptive planning is. Just rely on your muscle memory and don't overthink it. Just go shot to shot on the lane and adapt to the previous shot. So like if previous shot, your ball hook time, well, okay, make the adjustment, move forward, focus on that next shot. Focus shot to shot, not game to game or even ball to ball. That's probably one of the best advices I could give you, because it's something I suffer from hugely, like horrifically. So I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about that. I try to, do some things and help out. And another big thing, this is more on the side of things, is finding your motivation. What finding what drives you, a goal to set, or what gets you to the bowling center to practice and to compete. If you have one, it'll allow you to push yourself, beyond other people, because you now have something you're fighting for. For me, and I think it's more of I'm overthinking it of what I have to do, so I kind of use the find my motivation and I overthink it, so I use it in a negative manner, but you can definitely use it in a positive manner. I need to refocus and put myself into a positive manner, but my goal is to be a professional bowler. I want to bowl on the regular tour, and so that's my driving force, to go into the bowling center and practice day in and day out. For you, it could be, just to get a higher average. What do you want to accomplish? And that, what takes you to the bowling center, and then just keep that on your mind. It's a lot of all athletes from other sports do it. Why can't you? Just focus on your goal, but don't overthink it. Overthinking it, as I said, led me to go 214 to 150, 150, which for me is bad, because I want to get to a 200 average so I can get to tour. So going minus 100 on that, yikes. that kind of hurts. That kind of hurts. But it is what it is. I just have to take it week by week and, give what the lane's giving me. I'm understanding that more and more. My game's getting better for it. I just gotta trust myself. Starting to. These failures are starting to stack up, and I'm starting to understand what I need to do. Alright, so that concludes Legacy Guide Part 7, the mental game. Before we end the video, I want to talk about a few things. First off, thank you guys for all the support you guys have been showing us onto the to the channel, and to the from all of you guys listening on podcasting website. Thanks you guys so much. It's definitely been noticed. I've got for new gear. And right now I'm using a Snowball Ice microphone, which it's pretty decent. I actually really like it. I have a couple filters to help it make my voice just a little bit better. But I have a better mic that's in the looks, as well as a couple other gaming peripherals, like a boom mic, so that way my voice isn't constantly like this, so that way it's a constant distance for this and the videos on YouTube. It's going to be if you want to know, it's I believe it's a HyperX Quadcast, or it's one of the best USB mics on the market, so that's what I'm going to go for. Relatively inexpensive. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to get one of their mouses as well, see if I can get a discount from HyperX. But yeah, so that's my goal for that end. For a new series coming to the Fast Fire Guy 1234 YouTube channel, we have Motorsport Manager coming possibly next week, maybe the week after. As you know, in the previous Legacy Cast, which if you haven't watched, please go watch. It was actually very interesting to do some gaming news, but at the end of it, we spun a wheel. We saw what 2 single-player series we're going to be adding, which it was going to be Motorsport Manager, and it was also Cold Waters, which is actually another submarine game, which is very, very interesting. If you haven't watched my U-Boat series, believe me, it's a very, very fun time. You get to see me sink submarines and kill lots of people because I don't know how to play the game, but it's a very fun time, very enjoyable experience. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching and listening to this episode of the Legacy Cast single. Please join us next week, and also join us on Monday and Wednesday for the other 2 podcasts. Mondays we typically focus on film. Wednesdays we typically focus on we typically like to focus more on gaming lately, and obviously on Fridays, if you're listening to this, we're focusing on bowling. Thank you everyone, and I hope you have a great day.